And finally got myself a little intro video. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tally Book Troubleshooting. I'm coming to you live from Odessa, Texas, heart of the Permian Basin. Patrick Payton, the former mayor out here, said if the Permian Basin doesn't wake up and go to work, America can't go to work, and nothing can be truer. The oil and gas industry is stronger than ever out here. I'm your host, Keith Stelter, trying to bring you a little positive PR, one live stream at a time, one little post at a time, one subject matter expert, one interview, you name it. A couple great things coming up besides today's show, which I'm pretty excited about, is I'm going to be at NAPE next week. And I am also going to be at the Produced Water Society's conference over at the Weston Memorial City, all in Houston. Going to be bringing you great content from those shows. So Tally Book Troubleshooting will finally be making a little bit of a comeback here. We're doing a live stream this week. We'll be bringing you content next week. And who knows, sky's the limit after that. Following in April, we got the Permian Basin Bass Invitational. Great event that helps raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundations for New Mexico and North Texas. If you don't know about it, reach out. I'll get you connected with the gentleman there. It's been a great honor to be asked to bring some of the content from there. Last year was my first year, and I got the chance to speak to some of the recipients, and one particular mother. They were like, "Man, Keith, you got to interview her," and I was like, "Okay, but it's a Make-A-Wish." She had her son's wish made 7 years ago, but I'm like, these are generally terminally ill children. Like, I'm kind of trepid. I'm like, is he still alive? And of course, the wish gave him the strength and inspired him to keep going. He wanted to be an Army Ranger, so that worked out to the point where now he might even get the chance to serve in the U.S. Army. So great things coming down the pipe. And I'm excited about today's guest. If you don't know Kenneth, Kenny, Trey, however you may know him, this guy's been around the drilling and service sector of the U.S. Oil industry for a long time. You may have seen his posts. He doesn't shy away from any kind of topic. We connected on LinkedIn many years ago, but me and my wife made a trip out to South Carolina. And the first thing I wanted to do when I was out there was meet him. And he was great enough to come in. And we sat at a hotel bar and had a few drinks and were telling stories to the point where anybody who was in the bar was listening. So I knew from then on he'd be a great guest. And before we bring him on, let's see. Anybody out there watching, let me know where you're watching from. Shoot me a comment. Let me know. Let's shout it out. If you got anything going on, any kind of events coming up, anything you want to shout out, throw it out there. I'll bring it up on the screen. Want to get everybody's 2 cents in. This is what these live streams are for. And before I bring Kenny on, I also want to mention American Safety Services is bringing you the show today. Thank you for helping me out, guys, and getting this show done. And without any further ado, let's see. No comments, that I can see yet. Let's bring the man, the myth, the legend on. Kenny, thanks for coming on and agreeing to do this. I know I've been bugging you for years to do this. Really appreciate it.
I'm here, babe. I'm braving the weather. Over here. It's 70 degrees today.
70 degrees is pretty rough in South Carolina right now.
A little rough, man. I think I seen a cloud earlier.
And shout out to Scott Emerson's tuning in. James Wilkerson. Oh, I assume that's family. James.
That is. He used to beat on me when I was a kid.
Michael Turner, listen, Michigan. Wow. Roy Williams, thank you, sir, for tuning in. Let's jump into it. CEO Kodak Oil and Gas. You've been drilling a long time. You started service companies, sold service companies. You're a man of means. You've been around, but you take to LinkedIn. You seem like you have a little bit of fun on there. Why? Some guys would be like, why, get involved on social media? Why even put yourself to the point where you get the comments back that you do, or even comment on some of the posts that you do? What drives you to do that?
My wife says I have no filter, Keith. That's what she says. You know, I don't know, to be honest. I don't have any other social media, so I have no outlet there. That's all I have is LinkedIn. I see some of these comments on there that obviously, I agree with, that you agree with, that everybody agree with. And then I see some of these comments that are just, they're so out there. These people are just, they're just chirping off, and I probably shouldn't say anything, but of course I do, me and my big mouth, but
We're
I
glad you
just,
do, because
I don't know.
that's what a lot of people know you for.
Yeah, I get about, I swear, probably 15 comments a day from random strangers that claim they're unable to comment. I guess because of their fear of employers or pushback or whatever. Um, and again, that probably tells me that I shouldn't be commenting, but of course I do.
Man, we all need a guy who can say what he thinks and feels, just because, sometimes it's maybe extreme, but it is sure entertaining, and it's definitely never dull, which is why I thought, you being on here would be a great, great addition. We can jump into it here. Let's get a little bit about your background. Where'd you start out? Where'd you grow up? And let's take it from there.
I grew up in East Texas, Henderson, Texas. I went to the military when I was 3 days after I turned 17 years old. I went to the Navy. Boot camp, went to sub school for a year in Groton, Connecticut. Got stationed in Virginia Beach on the USSL Mendel Rivers, a seal delivery boat. Um, Stayed there for a term. That's where I met my wife, which is somewhat how I wound up in South Carolina. Um, Went back to Texas. I was sitting on the back porch of my dad in July, probably around, I don't know, I'm guessing 2002, I think. Uh, I was working for Scan Drill. I was working derricks for Scan. I was sitting on the back porch of my dad there on a July summer there, and was doing nothing but drinking a beer. And of course, I was 65 pounds lighter then at 22 years old, and I was just sweating, just sweating. And I said, man, I got to get out of here. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm leaving. He said, where are you going? I said, I don't know, Colorado. And he said, well, what do you know about Colorado? And I said, I don't know nothing. I said, I know it's probably not 102 degrees there, and so I literally got on the internet, Googled around. I didn't even know they drill in Colorado. My ignorant self at the time, I didn't know anything. Rocky Mountain Drillers popped up. I wound up going, took a drilling job in Big Piney, Wyoming for, what was it? Cyclone Drilling, Rig 18. It wasn't quite a shock. It was coming from Texas. It was kind of a different world back then up north. Somewhat of a throwback to the 70s oil field. If I was around, I think. Stayed there a while, went to Cosner Drilling, working for Harry Oles, rest in peace. I love Harry Oles. I don't know if any of you guys know him or not, but he was the man. I was pushing tools at Casa, watching some rigs for Noble Energy. At the time, I was 26, I think, something like that, living in Fort Collins. Noble offered me a consulting job. At first, I turned it down. I left Ensign, which because it became Ensign, went over with Mac McAllister, helped build Frontier Rig 9, moved it to the top of the mountains there in Parachute, Colorado, drilling wells for Berry Petroleum. And Noble offered me a job again. And this time, gentleman that offered me the job I had known for quite a while. He said if I didn't take the job, I wasn't going to get offered again. So long story short, I shot off into consulting. I was watching 3 rigs in the DJ Basin at the time, 2 turnkey, 1-day work rig. We're drilling about 300 wells a year on those 3 rigs, vertical wells. Stayed at Noble for a couple of years, brought out the first coiled tubing drilling rig. I don't know if any of you guys ever been a part of that, but or I shouldn't say the first that we had ever seen. Our
What
first
year was
well,
that? Because I was around a lot of that with shallow gas in southern Alberta. What year was that?
this was probably around 2007, maybe the end of 2006. We were drilling 8,000, 9,000 foot DJ Basin wells, vertical holes. We drilled the first well in 9 hours. Not 9 bit hours, 9 hours. It was to the point that on my mistake, I had no casing crews lined up. I had no cement crews lined up, no logs lined up. It was kind of a it was a mini disaster. I never seen anything like it. No connections. We're drilling 1,600 foot an hour. We just cranked it out. Um, Stayed there, went back to parachute. Kind of got sideways with a drilling engineer over there, which is a good friend of mine. Honestly, a really great friend of mine. Which was probably the problem, right? I kind of overstepped my bounds, got my ass run off. Uh, Fortunate, I went to North Dakota working for Hess. I went up there as a consultant for Hess. That was around '08, I think. And it was a perfect timing. God helped me, obviously, because natural gas, went from here to near nothing. And, thankfully, I was back on the side drilling oil wells in North Dakota. We were drilling,
So
20.
you grew up in Texas. You get the whim to just go to Colorado, and then after all these years, you didn't go back yet. You went from all around Colorado. Then the next step was to the Dakotas.
Man, I fell in love with Fort Collins, Colorado. I loved it. And I loved North Dakota, believe it or not. At the time, there was a handful of rigs there. It was not kind of the Wild West that it turned into there in the, 2012, 13 or whatever. I don't know. Then there was probably 70 rigs. When I got to North Dakota, I think there was, I don't quote me, but I would guess somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 10 rigs, 12 rigs. I could drive all the way from Wilkerson to Minot and pass, one car. I literally used to think if I run off the road out here, I'm going to freeze to death and die. It was great. The people up there were great. A lot of your people were there. A lot of Canadians, they weren't so great. They're kind of cocky, but no. But they were fantastic people in North Dakota. It is odd being from Texas. It was like a new world up there, new fish, and the way they talk. It was strange, but the oil field was the same. It's all the same. Just had to change a little different for the weather and so forth. And I stayed drilling up there. As you know, I hopped over to Whiting there in 2009, I believe. I started hiring a lot of drilling consultants. I started watching a bunch of Whiting rigs. They didn't have drilling superintendents. So I was sitting on a rig, watching the rig. I had consultants on almost every rig. I think there around 2014, we had around 70 something consultants working across the country from Texas to North Dakota, Colorado, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Utah, you name it.
Good times.
Yeah, I did that for a good long while. Then I took off with Whiting, did some exploratory stuff, drilled one of the craziest wells you ever seen in your life, and up in the mountains in Colorado. It's probably another story for another day, but that was a maniac well. Wound up back in Colorado in the DJ, of course, a little bit different this time. We started that redtail field out there, ramped that up to 6, 7 rigs. I don't know what we had going out there. Drilled that whole lease up, probably over drilled it, to be honest. Then, all hell broke loose. Got kind of sideways there with a gentleman. I won't say his name, but anyway, the rest is history. I left there. I went and started my own oil and gas company. I started Kodak. Kodak Resources. We had bought some acreage in the Powder River Basin. Brought on a couple of buddies of mine, a finance guy that I'd known for a while, a good friend of mine that's going to be a Nate that I'll introduce you to by the name of Caleb Dassinger. He's from Montana. He's a landman, been in it his whole life. His dad's been in it his whole life. Great kid. Anyway, we wind up, long story short, we wind up merging Kodak into a company, Trail Ridge Energy Partners. They were selling their second entity, gentleman by the name of Ron Wade, amazing dude. We we merged, come up with a company, Three Peaks Resources, Three Peaks Oil and Gas, for the third venture. Everybody's got to have a number thing in the company these days.
Yeah.
Went on a road show, suited up, which is not really my thing. Zipped around the country.
Really? I don't see that.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I do own a lot of suits, though. I don't like to wear them, but I like to buy them. I got a bunch of them. I just don't wear them. Long story short, we were getting close to getting funded. We knew we were. Sold my house in Colorado. We have an office in Grapevine. So I was headed back to Texas. We're looking for property in Grapevine, specifically out around Lake Grapevine. We get funding somewhere close to $100 million. And when we did, it was a non-op deal. So we got funded on a non-op deal. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm the COO of a company that don't operate anything. Yeah, that didn't make sense. I can see the writing on the wall there. So I told my wife, this don't really make sense. Talked to Ron. Wind up not moving to Grapevine. We had bought a condo in North Myrtle Beach in 2008. We just spent a lot of time vacationing out here. So we bought us a house down here by the ocean front and took off to North Myrtle Beach. I left from Three Peaks, other than a shareholder, which, with private equity don't mean a whole lot, did that. I started a company called Blackstone Energy that a lot of you probably know. Roy Williams should know. I'm assuming that's the great Longhorn Roy Williams. Am I correct?
We're
I bet you it is. I bet you it is. He owns a trucking company out there in West Texas. Anyway, I started Blackstone.
That is that Roy Williams. This is a different Roy Williams. This one's he's just as cool though.
Nah, get the other Roy Williams, bud. The other Roy Williams is who we need. Anyway, I started up Blackstone, man. It was my second venture into the service side. We started that from scratch, man, and we ramped up. We ramped up fast. You guys probably see the trucks running all over the place, and we did everything from not cold tubing, but cellars, water, hauling oil, flat decks, hydrovacs, roustabouts, welding, chemicals. We did all of that. Built it up sizable till we had to have another sizable investment with a good friend of mine in Colorado. I won't say his name. Anyway, we needed more funds. We had to grow. Part of success is sometimes you outgrow your ability, right? Financial ability. So I did. We took a sizable investment, which shrunk my interest into the company. Long story short, I'd been away from home for a good long while. I was basically living in Odessa in an RV, and that got old. The zipping back and forth. So I took a buyout from my partner there and, come back to South Carolina. And for the last few years, I have been just drilling wells for some private equity groups here and there. I'm currently working on a project in Central America that you know about. I can't say a whole lot about it. It's it's not that big of a project, or it won't take that long. Getting started, I think, is the most sizable of it. But we're about there. Start drilling that in a couple of weeks. I have also been looking for a job, as you know. I've been looking for a job for the last couple of years, or at least the last year and a half. I got lots of offers. I just don't really know what I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know if it's on the operator side. I don't know if it's on the service side. I don't know what it is. I don't even know if it's in the oil and gas industry, to be honest with you. Who knows? More than likely, that's what I can do, drill a hole. My dad said it don't take a rocket science to drill a hole in the ground. You ain't got to be the brightest guy in the world to drill a hole. But anyway, that's where I'm at.
I take that back because the oil industry is turning that out to be, one of the most robust, the ingenuity that's here. There's the guys that come from the oil industry go into tech, they go into all kinds of things and they're successful. So, don't sell yourself short. just the synopsis here was pretty impressive. Uh, it's tally book troubleshooting. Uh, Before we get into anything else, you mentioned a well from hell or this this or that. You got any amazing problems from all those consultants or something where something was on, maybe it wasn't on fire, something was exploding, something was crazy happening, and you had to come up with a simple solution or something, like just turn it off or something? Like, is that,
I'll tell
is
you,
it ever that simple?
I'll tell you a story from that well. This well was a very deep well. I mean, it was deep. It was straight vertical hole. I don't remember. I think we spud with a 17.5-inch bit or something. It was an odd well. It was essentially exploratory. Another operator owned this property. Two operators previously had tried to drill this well, and both of them, got stuck, abandoned the well, PNA'd, whatever. I wasn't a part of those projects. This current operator they got an offer to, drill this well and essentially assume, some of the acreage up there for nothing for the most part. So I got asked, could I drill this well? Of course I said, yeah, of course I can, which was my cocky attitude. So I take this guy named Dean Chandler. I don't know if any of you guys know him. He worked for me for a long time, man. He's an older guy. He lives in Mississippi. I call him Jelly Dean. He's one of the greatest guys you ever meet in your life. Super knowledgeable, very, very, very laid back, a lot of patience, kind of the opposite of me, right? And I was like, man, this well's going to be tough. So I need, something like that. So I took Dean up there to work nights for me. We stayed up there for, I want to say 3 months, Keith. It was a doozy. I mean, this well was so deep, the casing was heavier than the rig was rated for. We had to float the pipe in, that type of thing. One string of pipe, the casing company had the wrong gimbal. So we're all the way at the bottom. We set the slips and it blew the gimbal to pieces. The whole steel gimbal just shot all over the rig floor. That was a little crazy. But anyway, one night things were going good. My wife had dropped my middle son off at the rig. He was going to stay a couple nights, right? Because I had been up there for months. My middle son, he's 17 now. I think at the time he was probably around 4. I'm guessing maybe 4. Well, my best buddy from high school, who's also in the oil field, he's a sales guy, and he was passing through. So he called me. He's like, hey, you want to go to dinner? I said, everything was going pretty smooth. Dean's there. So I said, all right, yeah, I'll go down for dinner. I said, just come up here and pick me up. So he drives up the mountain, picks me up. We go down to dinner. We come back, me, him, and my son. It's probably, I don't know, 9 o'clock at night, I'm guessing. And we get out of the truck. And we had this flare line rigged up on this rig, and it was a 12-inch flare line, and it was probably 60 yards long, I'm guessing. Real long flare line with a big long flare igniter way up in there, and these great big old concrete blocks. You guys seen them sitting on every other joint of this flare line. Well, that flare stack, that's why I always prefer to sludge bucket myself. Those stacks of them electric igniters, zip, zip, just like that. Well, these kids are drilling along, and apparently they took this, this bubble, and nobody's seen it. Nobody on the rig seen it, and they circulated all the way to surface, just drilling ahead. Well, that gas went out that flare line and out that flare stack. And then when that stack lit, it said, and it blew up, buddy. And it sounded like a damn, like a bomb went off. It said, boom. And the whole flare stack just shot in the air and just threw those concrete blocks like they were just a marble. It was nothing. Then it just, I mean, we had a flare that was probably 90 or 100 foot high, just blowing, and the lines off the ground doing this number like a fire hose. And I had my son in my hands, and I was like, oh shit, so I just chunked him to my buddy, And I said, just go down the mountain, man. So he did. He takes my kid and he just runs down the mountain. He's a sales guy, right? And he doesn't even work on the drilling side. He's doing some kind of liner stuff or something. He's scared. So I take off to run to the rig, and I pass the drilling crew. The drilling crew passed me going the other direction, man. They're headed off a location. They just all the drills, all the
like, hell with this, we're out of here.
Yeah, man, like 2 minutes running, 10 minutes walking back type thing. You know what I mean? These guys abandoning ship on me. And I was like, oh shit. So I run, I get to the accumulator house, and I'm like, damn, I gotta shut the pump down. You know what I mean? I can't shut the accumulator. And right about that time, it's a choo 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 choo. I hear the accumulator shut off, boom, close the well in. The little driller that did circulate the kick up without seeing it, whatever, but he did save the day. He shut the well in. We circulated out that gas, but that could have been real bad. That could have been really bad. That's
a nightmare.
Right? Oh man, those concrete blocks flew 50 yards. It's a wonder it didn't mash somebody, kill us. Who knows? But anyway, that was a pretty crazy story.
That is what the industry is all about. Those kinds of things happen more often than people want to admit, and people need to know about them because that's the kind of stuff they're like, oh, you just go out there and you make this money and you just go home. And it's like, man, there's some crazy ass shit that happens. You got to put up with long hours, unexpected kicks, explosives, radiation, you name it. Like it's not for the faint of heart out there for sure. And it's good. Excuse me. It's gotten better over the years, but it's definitely still hurting people to this day. I think it wasn't too long ago, there was a rig that melted down out over here in West Texas. So it's
there was one
still getting
one in North Dakota.
Batteries still catching on fire. Like there's, lightning strikes prevention, and people still, they're like, I don't need that. And then, 6 months later, they're rebuilding a battery because it got hit by lightning or static electricity got in there. So it's crazy. What, after seeing all this and being through all that, where do you think, the industry gonna go? Is it gonna smarten up and get better? Is the new generation not listening to the old generation? What is your opinion here? Are we losing too much experience because I see a lot of guys getting kind of put to pasture and they're not mentoring enough younger guys, and guys are just kind of, well, I got this already figured out. Do you see that as a problem, or do you think, we've covered enough ground?
I don't see it that way. When I broke out in 99, it was the same thing then, right? These kids don't know anything. They don't know nothing. These older, it was the same thing. And it's always been the same thing. Some of these kids come out, some of these engineers especially, but even these kids that show up to the rig, they're smarter than we ever were. And frankly, even companies like yours and there's a lot more training now than we ever had. Now I did start out offshore, right? So that's a different, we did have a good bit of training, but when I come on land, in 2001, I think, or something like that. I cut my fingers off the day before 9/11. So I come on land shortly after that. I think it was toward the end of 2001. There was no training, or not, very little, I should say, other than a well control or, maybe a safety hand shows up to the rig every once in a while. We used to only have, one safety guy at the whole company, and so how often did you see that guy? Hardly never. I think some of these kids now are, their legs and heads and shoulders apart, from where we were. That being said, sometimes I see a lot of these more specifically consultants, they're getting jobs that they're not ready for. I see guys all the time that are, I can just read their background and think, nah, you never should have even been offered a consulting job. Not that he can't do the job, Keith, but you don't have the qualifications. And
that's not ready. It's too soon. It's been rushed.
Yes, it's not even an age thing. It's a qualification thing. What was your experience? And hell, some of my best consultants in North Dakota I ever had, I broke out in their 20s, mid 20s. But They also drilled for 2 or 3 years. They pushed tools for a couple of years. Some of these guys now, they're in the industry a year. Some of them right out of college. They spring through a office kind of sample course there, and then they're on a rig watching a rig. And I will tell you this, and I seen Kyle right there commenting, and Kyle was one of my greatest hands I ever had, and I broke Kyle out from a driller. A young man, I don't know how old he was, probably 27 maybe. Fantastic drilling hand, fantastic hand, period. But I used to tell Kyle all the time, everybody can be a good drilling consultant when things are going good. When you're setting record wells and you're drilling, 5-day wells or 7-8 day North Dakota wells or 8-day Permian wells, everybody's great then. It's when all hell breaks loose is when the difference. That's when you need a real hand, a serious drilling hand that knows what's going on, because none of us know everything. But one thing you do know is, look at that one. There's all family on here. If you've been in this industry a long time, I don't have to know everything, Keith, or nor you. You know somebody that has an idea. Let me call this guy. Let me call Jelly Dean.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's the difference. Where some of these guys don't know anybody.
Facing that every day, especially sales, right? A lot of people are like, well, the salesman doesn't have, the technical background or what have it. And that's not what he's meant to have. He's supposed to know who to call to get the answer, right? Like, it's the networking. It's the who's the who. You know what I mean? Like, because it's impossible to know every technical aspect, no matter how long you're in this industry. Areas are different. People are different. Equipment's different. It may all be designed to kind of do similar things, but at the end of the day, there's little tweaks that everybody kind of runs into. And if you didn't happen to run into those tweaks because it did go good for you, you better know who to call, right? And that's, I think, one of the biggest thing that we're lacking, right, is too many people are looking for everybody to be an expert instead of the guy who knows who all the experts are.
Yeah, 100%. And that's another thing that really irks me on the internet is all these people, mainly guys, bashing these women, these sales women in the particularly in West Texas, right? The Snow Bunny, you've seen all that stuff. And what does that even mean, man? If a girl is a good looking girl, she don't have a right to work. Like, I don't understand that. It's a salesman. They bring tickets, they take orders, they drop off flyers. What do you want them to do? You want them to come drill the well for you? I don't understand it, man. I mean, to me, a salesman is an attitude, right? That's an attitude. That's a hustle. Go get some work. I don't understand how these people get away bashing these women out there working. I'm glad they're out there working. I mean, there's a lot of dudes that know a whole lot that ain't going to hit 15 rigs in a day, Keith. You know it well, I do. They're going to hit 2 rigs. They're going to go to the coffee shop in Orla or wherever they are, and they're going to sit there and be bellied up to a bar by 2:30 and then lie by 5 o'clock about where they were. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I don't care if you ever worked a day on a drilling rig. If you're coming out to sell me, lube, come out and sell lube. All they need to know is their product. I don't need them to know bottom hole temperatures. I don't need, they don't need to know how the directional work. What do you think?
Yes, sir. No, and a lot of companies though are losing. Back in the day, I guess there was only a few salesmen that knew enough people that they could jump ship, and on day one they'd bring in, all their clients or something. But that doesn't even happen today. You can know everybody there is to know, and they can know you. But as soon as you go to a new place, that doesn't automatically mean they're gonna, everybody's gonna follow you. It takes time, and I see too much of and it's happened to me, a revolving door of like, okay, you need to do it all today, or you don't have a chance. And a lot of the sales cycle right now is probably 9 to 18 months, and people are letting salesmen go after 6 months because they didn't bring in $1 million every day. And to me, I just think we got to get to a point where we know people and let those people try to build up their brands and all that stuff. Get the people all involved, right? Because I learned it late. It's really who you know, and who knows what, right? Like if I had a drilling question, I'd call you up, right? If I, wireline, okay, I could probably answer a lot of wireline questions. But if it was open hole, I'd call a guy named Robert Wilbeck. There's all kinds of people you can call. And speaking of, women, one of my great mentors here is a great lady named Janie Snelson, and she's been terrific doing sales here for 35 years, and she's done a hell of
Absolutely.
a job. So it is a there is some and guys are guilty of it too. There's some guys that just golf too. They're
Yeah.
hired because they're good golfers, and but you don't see anybody making fun of them.
Put your mask on. We were in North Dakota one time. I was watching, I think 9 rigs, I believe. And there was a new inspection company started up. And this it's weird, but this Wyomingite that acted and sounded like a coon ass. All his employees were Cajuns. They had started this new inspection company. They were coming out to the rig, and they were grilling every day. They were frying fish, and they were boiling crawfish, and they were every day they were grilling steaks. And I kept telling them, I'm like, look, we got this inspection company. I appreciate the food, but we're not swapping work because you're out here cooking for us. No, you couldn't tell him different. And I mean, this went on for months. And then one day I get this call, we keep getting this pipe rejected. We're having issues with this inspection company kicking this pipe out down to, whatever wall thickness. And it was really irritating me because there's no gray area. It either passes or it fails, right? You can't kick my pipe out because it's getting close to not passing. It's either passing or it's failing. Long story short, you're costing us a lot of money, because we're having to replace this pipe. And then the office calls. They're like, look, we need to get a new inspection company. Get a new inspection company. Lo and behold, I look out my window and I'm like, damn, I got one right here, man. They're sitting right here. They're out here cooking spam. I don't know what the hell they were cooking that day. And bam, they got 9 rigs out of the gate, man. Next thing you know, they ramped up. Yeah, 9 rigs for a brand new startup company is tremendous. Hell, I think they wind up selling that company 18 months later. I don't know. They was a very successful company. But yeah, it was just persistence. And that sales guy that run that company is a good friend of mine now. He's one of the greatest salesmen I ever seen in my whole entire life.
What's his name?
Eric Nations. Eric Nations. You know him?
Nope.
He ought to be on here.
Look him up, though.
Look him up. He's a set son on sell Ice Cube in Alaska. I'm telling you. And I don't even know if he knows anything, but he starts rattling numbers all to the point where I'm like, I don't know, man. Just bring it out here. Bring it out here. Now he's a good sales guy. I know a bunch of good sales guys. They're all over the place, man. Nate Hamilton's down there. Check Nate out. He's a good sales guy too. I've known him for almost 20 years now. Hustler, bud. He's a hustler. He thinks he's the best looking guy in the world, but he's not. He's not. I just let him think that.
I do. Great. So anybody got any questions for Kenny? Throw them out there in the comments. We'll bring them up. But in the meantime, oh man, you got any advice for any new guys coming in or the industry? Is there any kind of topic you want to cover here before we get a couple questions in? We've kind of been all over the place, a little bit of backgrounds. We got some stories. Any opinions, politics? You got any opinions on the border? You got, what are you feeling like today?
I got a million opinions on the border. A million. I think it's getting a little carried away down there, don't you? This whole situation is getting a little carried away.
No, I actually saw a video this morning. They show the part where all the guys are standing deadlocked at each other. You got your feds and you got your Texas guys. But then this guy drives down half a mile away from where all this stuff is happening, and there's an open gate in the border wall. Nobody's standing there. Couple porta potty, and I was just like, wait a minute, we're all fighting over here for the cameras, I guess, because it's election year or whatever. And then we go half a mile away, nothing's going on, and the border's like wide open. I was just like, I guess it's going to be a matter of everybody's going to have to go down there and check it out for themselves? Like, have we got to that point yet? Like, we can't believe anything?
Well, it's all crazy. I seen yesterday that armed citizens are headed down there to help out. I don't know that that's a good idea, to be honest. That seems like somebody's going to get in a bind somewhere. That don't seem, that's not the right move. I don't think. If any of you guys headed down there, don't do that. That you're asking for trouble. You're going to get yourself in a situation, and you're going to be like that kid in Wisconsin there. And whatever. I'm not starting that debate up, but that kid kind of put himself in a shitty situation too, in my opinion. Not that what he did was wrong, but he never should have been there in the first place. Same thing with that border. Those guys don't need to be down there with the armed guys. Let these politicians and these cops and these border patrol deal with that stuff. But yeah, as politics as a whole, a lot of people don't know I'm a libertarian. I'm not a Republican. I'm not even a big Donald Trump guy. Obviously I'll vote for Donald Trump, but sometimes I wish he would just shut up. Like, I don't understand. He just constantly pipes off at the gums. I'm not even against all Democrats. In the oil and gas industry, I would never vote for a Democrat. I think we've established on the internet. I don't understand how anybody in their right mind can work in an industry that these people blatantly threaten to shut down every day and then vote for them. You can't say, well, this one guy is a buddy of mine, I really like him. You know what I mean? It's one whole party. It doesn't matter that one guy, if he's running for railroad commissioner or state Congress, doesn't matter. He's not changing the party as a whole. Like I said, I don't love Donald Trump. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because that's the only option we have. I'm a Tim Scott guy. I told you that. I like Tim Scott and I like Ramaswamy. Ever how you say that? I really like that guy. I like Donald Trump's policies. I just, I think he talks too much. That coming from me, that means
a lot of people do. A lot of people do. Wish they could get it without all the drama and stuff. It's and what you mentioned about the vilifying the oil industry, over 0.04%. That's the CO2 number in the air. And as an industry, it's shameful we don't know that number better, because people are CO2 is not even the top 3 gases in the atmosphere.
And we need CO2 to live.
Lots of study. And the Earth has gotten greener because of the slight, and we're talking a very slight rise. We're talking from 350 parts per million to 400 parts per million over the last how many years. And it's only made like crops more resilient in a few places. So, something a lot more needs to be done to push back on that. Not to say the oil and gas industry is perfect. We do plenty of dumb things with water or pollutants and stuff. We got to get a little bit better, I think, with our water and our abandonments and stuff like that. And, but I think we're a pretty good industry, especially compared to, the battery industry with all the strip mining and cobalt and a few others. Like, not everybody's perfect. So it's,
no, we definitely need, there's a big market in this industry right now for, disposal, water disposal, recycle, whatever. I see companies pop up every day. I get, obviously, salesmen reach out to me. They're all selling something, but they're all selling the same thing. At the end of the day, something has to be done. They can't keep injecting that water. I don't care about global warming. I don't believe it. Is a planet warming up? Sure. I don't know, Keith. I'm no scientist. I don't believe that people can control the weather. I don't believe that for a second. I've seen a graph a while back that some guy had put of, all the pollutants in the world caused by humans. The graph was the whole world as a red dot, and the human was, it was a dinky little dot, like the size of a half a dime or, you know what I mean? I can't buy all that. But the water injection does need to be fixed. The P&A issue does need to be fixed. Now, I am obviously a little biased, but to kill an oil company, I mean, literally kill an oil company because of a well that they bought that's 50 years old that was P&A 20 years before they ever even owned it. that's a little extreme, right? Do they need to fix it? Of course they do. They took the financial responsibility, but to sit out here and just beat them dead, like they said, hey, go out there and short. I worked for a lot of oil companies. I've never one time worked for a company that said, hey, I know we should be doing this, but it costs too much, so let's just do this. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. That may happen on the service side. Maybe this directional company costs a little too much, so we're going to go with this company, and then down the road you wind up realizing it was cheaper to hire the more expensive company. But as far as P&A goes, as far as safety, there's never an oil company that ever called me one time ever and said, hey, look, this well's taking too long. We need to maybe do this. I don't care if it breaks a guy's
The
leg.
corner. Yeah,
That doesn't
nobody's ever asked to cut
happen.
corners.
That doesn't happen.
I don't see it. I see, and like the injection, especially a place out here in the Permian, its big knock is it's desert, it's brown, it's ugly. I think as the technology progresses, I think one of the great things the oil industry has is all this water we do encounter that if we treat it right, we can start irrigating the land and make it into a imagine, if all of a sudden we started irrigating the Permian and New Mexico with all the produced water that we had. Can you imagine the satellite photo going from how brown it is now to a nice green grasslands and stuff, and what kind of message that would send? And I think ultimately that's the biggest fear some people have, is that the oil industry will get to that point, make it economical to do that kind of thing. And because agriculture really is getting short on some water here. Irrigation is getting harder and harder to come by. And if all of a sudden oil and gas industry can supply a bunch of water, they're already kind of doing it to a degree with cotton fields and a few others. But I don't know. I think that's the future. And I think it's just a waste, like you said, putting it down in saltwater disposal wells.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense. There's millions and millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to be made with that right there. Am I the guy to go do it? No. Am I the guy that can run a company that does it? Absolutely. But I need some of those brainiac, smart guys. We all know those type of guys. I know one in Colorado named Miles Thorman. If he's around, he might be the guy to do it. He's a genius. But there's a million guys like that. And there's so much money to be made. If somebody would just quit bucking the system and just concentrate on fixing the problem, it makes no sense. You can make all the little videos. Hell, look at the videos. Tell Odessa to pick the trash up, for Christ's sake. Start there. Clean the damn trash up. I lived in Fort Collins, Colorado for 15 years, and I don't know if I ever seen 3 pieces of trash on the ground in my life. I drive through Odessa. I used to spend literally $3,000 a week with my employees at Blackstone picking trash up around our yard, our street that wasn't ours. And that's real life. We would have, it would get slow. I'd say, hey, just go pick trash up. And not one time did they ever come back and say, oh, there was no trash. No, we're filling dumpsters up, man, with just literal trash, oil field trash, people's trash from their house, man. It's like people just took their bag of trash and threw it out on the damn road. That's a battle. They don't take a lot of intelligence.
Probably did pick it up. Wind probably did pick it up out of the dumpster and blow it down the road. So it does get windy here. But got Case is asking the question, you ever thought about going into South Carolina politics?
I have. I absolutely 100% have. I think I told you that, Keith, the first time I met you. My wife doesn't think it's a good idea. I figure,
why not?
Why not? That's what I figured. Some of these politicians, we got good politicians here in South Carolina, believe it or not. Lindsey Graham's probably not on the top of my list, but overall,
It's not.
Yeah, overall, pretty good. You've been here. It's a very diverse state. South Carolina is very, very diverse. We don't seem to have so many of the racial issues that a lot of these states have. Hell, on my street alone, I got white people, black people, I got Asian people. My neighbors from Ukraine. They're all right here. Everybody seems to get along. Of course,
culture is a big thing, and if you make opportunity for everybody, and everybody's busy working, trying to make themselves better, I think it helps a lot. What you once said to me, and I don't know, you are from Texas, so maybe this will get you banned from Texas, but you said South Carolina was the most conservative state in the nation, more so than Texas. You still believe that?
By far more conservative than Texas. Only Oklahoma may be the most conservative, but other than Oklahoma, I have yet to be anywhere more conservative than South Carolina. That's why these liberals coming down here, doing their stump speeches and whatnot. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of time and money. You could run, a rock and put an R by it. It's going to win in South Carolina. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. But I do. Hey, and I'm not against all Democrats. Some of the stuff they harp on is true. I don't want to pay for your college tuition. I got my own kids I had to pay for, right? I got one in college right now. He's got a football scholarship. They don't pay even half, maybe. It's still expensive. It's a private school. It costs a lot of money. My son's not paying it. I'm paying it. I got another son that's about to graduate next year. He's going to go to college. And then I got two more following there. I don't want to pay your college debt. But the healthcare stuff, you're from Canada. I don't know that Canada figured it out, to be honest. But at least they did something. We do need something for healthcare there. It's sad. The older you get, I'm 44 now. And I see people literally go broke. They lose, everything they ever had because, their wife got cancer or their husband got cancer and, or God forbid, one of their kids got something and, that ain't right. I don't know what the answer there is. And I feel like that's a problem with politicians. They all think they have to damn know an answer. I need to know the answer. No matter what question you ask a politician, they're going to give you an answer. They're never going to answer the question, but they're going to give you some lame bull snot answer, right? When the truth is, half the time, Keith, probably more than half the time, they just say, hey, I don't know. I'm going to have to get with some people that know. I'm going to have to get with some people that work in this industry and find out because I do know that the education system in this country is terrible, right? It's not good. During COVID, my wife had she kept my two youngest kids at home for a year because my youngest son he's hyper, and they were talking about him sitting in a little container looking thing, and I said he has no trouble sitting still in a regular day, so my wife just kept them homeschooled and run off the internet from some whatever run of the mill homeschool thing. And then the next year they went back to school for 2 years. My two youngest kids were learning in school of what they already learned in the 1 year at homeschool. It took 2 years for them to catch up. My wife's a smart woman, but she's no school teacher, man. She went to college for, rehabbing people and whatnot, broke legs and, blowed up soldiers, that type of thing. How in the world did my kids fast forward 2 years of education from 1 year homeschool? How's that possible? The education system is terrible. The healthcare system is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. This nonsense of I can't
Even
get it.
the healthcare system, for regular people is awful. I'm working with the Permian Warrior Partnership, and they try and work with veterans for the VA. It's the stories they tell me about the VA. Like, it should just be an automatic, like, hey, you served, we're going to take care of you. And to me, the hoops they make the veterans jump through or deny or won't help is absolutely atrocious. So they should just get rid of that and give them the money. Like, here's what we were spending on the program. You all get this chunk. Go get real health care at this point. I don't know the answer either.
That's an easy fix to me. Why do these veterans got to go to a VA hospital? That's the fix. Just give them my ID card. This is my insurance card. I don't pay anything and go to any doctor you want to. That's all you got to do. Sure. That's all you got to do. Walk in any hospital, any doctor, and the problem solved.
I agree.
If my back is hurt, I go up here to USMC and they take me right in. They work on my back. Now, of course, I got to pay. I'm paid $1,500 a month medical insurance. Probably don't cover nothing. Every time I know I got sick, I got to pay out of my damn pocket for some reason. I don't know what I pay for, but that's for another day.
If you're set up right, you're taken care of pretty good. I had a heart attack last year. The biggest part of the bill was $1,500 for the helicopter ride from Cleburne to Fort Worth, and that was it. Insurance covered pretty much everything else, and I was very happy with what it is. The insurance system I see, way back when America kind of put the onus to take care of the population on the employers, right? Because if they don't take care of the people with insurance, and benefits, they're not going to have any workers. And that's clearly kind of gone off the rails. Whereas Canada, the government's taking care of your medical stuff. But at the same time, it's very difficult to get, taken care of in Canada because a lot of people abuse the system. So there's different, aspects to either one. You're right. There's no right or wrong answer. But I think somewhere in the middle, we could find a way. And I think it comes down to we've had people who are professional politicians. We don't have people like yourself should go in and spend 4 years contributing to the political system, to the government, right? Introducing new ideas or being like, just ask the question, why do we do that? You know what I mean? Like, and maybe some change will happen. Sorry, I can't fight this cough off.
Maybe that's a tall task, but it is a problem. It's a serious problem in this country. I don't know the answers to fix it all, but there's got to be better than what we have. Got to be better than what we have. I do know that, especially when you got people walking across the border and California is giving them free health care, or at least from what I read. I mean that's unreal. That doesn't even make sense to me. I would assume when's the last I went to California like probably 2 years ago, maybe, but they got serious problems out there. Their own people that need to be taken care of. I don't understand how they have money to take care of these other people.
It's getting crazy, and eye off the prize, and just I guess when you have it good for so long, you start making too many assumptions. I guess like it's got to be one of those things. But man, this has been great. We're at an hour almost. We're start wrapping it up. Thank you so much for coming on. This was fun. I know we could have went a million different ways and talked about a million different things, but always look forward to seeing you. And I'm pretty excited you're going to be at NAPE. What days you going to the expo? Are you going Thursday or Friday?
Probably Thursday, maybe Friday, more than likely. I'm gonna go to Drew's party. When is that party? Did you?
I think it's Thursday night. Okay.
I think so. I'm gonna go to that party. I'm gonna go to another little thing that I told a friend of mine I'm gonna go to that I think will be a little smaller, but yeah, I should get in town on the 6th, I think, and I'll probably stay through the whole thing, I imagine.
I'm getting there in the 6th. I'm going to check out the Produced Water Society Conference. NAPE, also the Hydraulic Fracturing Conference is in town the same time. So there's 3 really big conferences going on. And
there's some new technology. Are you going to that frac conference?
Thinking about doing it because there's a couple guys that have asked me about it. But
there's some new stuff coming out. I'm going to go over there. There's some new stuff coming out this year. That I have been privy to kind of look over from several different companies, not one company. It's kind of exciting. There's some good stuff coming out about to be on the market. So I'm going to go over there and snoop around with those guys. They think they're better than everybody. Those frac guys, they are smarter.
I was going to go because I think I might have, and this is going to sound weird, might have inherited a factory that builds hammer unions. So I might have access to cheap hammer unions. It's a factory in India. It's the weirdest kind of deal. I'll tell you all about it when I see you. But if you need cheap delivered to the Permian hammer unions, I actually might be. I don't know. It's so weird. I don't even know how to even explain it. Do I get anything? I don't even know. Maybe not. I don't.
That might be my next job. I'll sell hammer unions for Stelter hammer unions.
Shit, you're the dude. There's actually we could talk about it after, but we'll give you a piece of the pie, and you can go to town, man. If that's your new, I could give you a direction, and we could sell it all in 3 years or something. I don't know. I am American Safety Services Chief Strategy Officer. I'm not. It has nothing taking away. This is my everything job. But the weirdest deals with all this LinkedIn stuff happen to me sometimes, and once we go off the air, I'll maybe tell you a little bit more. But thanks to everybody who tuned in. Once again, amazing, sir. Really appreciate it. And check us out next week at NAPE and the Produced Water Society. And until we see you again, that's how you troubleshoot. Have a great day, everybody.
All right, guys. Thanks, Keith.